3, the preservation regulations. Mr. Wittenberg, could you summarize those for us?
Chair Schiff, I'm going to defer to our City Attorney, Eric Nilsson, on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the handout, the physical handout that was placed at each of your spots this morning, there should be a summary that I also emailed last week. It's the last page. There's a memo from Jason Wittenberg on the top about the residential density amendments, but it follows that. In short, this is just a process clarification amendment. It has 2 points. The first point is that the city has traditionally allowed applicants to appeal a denial of demolition by the HPC to the City Council. Some recent examples include PV Plaza and Shingle Creek Elementary. And so this amendment makes that clear that somebody is able to do that. The current code, it's not clear, and so that it clarifies that process. And the other appeals process is that it allows the HPC to make the final decision on historic variances unless they're appealed. That's how we handle traditional zoning variances with the Planning Commission and Board of Adjustment, and this would align that decision-making authority with the HPC, the same authority that the Planning Commission and Board of Adjustment has. As the code is currently written, historic variances automatically go to the City Council, and so this would change that. So in those 2 respects, it addresses and clarifies the appeal process.
Okay, and this is authored by Councilmember Goodman. Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you, Mr. Nilsson. I just want to clarify what outcomes could possibly happen as a result of that. So why don't you walk us through the process, for example, for a demolition of, say, the Star Tribune building?
Sure. Mr. Chair, Councilmember Goodman, when a property owner applies for a demolition of historic resource application, that application goes to the HPC for a public hearing. At that public hearing, it's the applicant's burden, if they're asking for demolition, to prove one of 2 things. One, they can argue that it's not a historic resource. Admittedly, that's somewhat of a low bar. Historic resource definition in our code is that it's believed to meet at least one of the designation criteria. They can ask for demolition even still if they prove that it's necessary to correct an unsafe or dangerous condition, which we don't often get before you, or that there are no feasible or reasonable alternatives to demolition. And so in the past, when those types of applications have gone to the HPC in situations where the HPC has denied the demolition permit and ordered a designation study, we have allowed those applicants to appeal to council and to make that same evidentiary showing to the council to make that decision. It's a quasi-judicial decision, and so it does function as an appeal process at the council. The council then has the authority, or in the past has had the authority, to overturn the HPC, and then a designation study wouldn't be done. The demolition permit would be approved. On the other hand, they could also affirm the HPC and order the designation study, and the property would go into interim protection, and we'd go through the process of doing a designation study and bringing that back to council, which the City Council always has the final decision on designations. The ultimate question is always vested in the City Council.
Right, so I want to just clarify, Chair Schiff, Mr. Nilsson, this just provides an extra level of relief for either side to us versus allowing the HPC to be the final authority. Yes,
that's correct. One thing I would note, it does maintain in the amendment specifically that a decision to commence a designation study pursuant to a nomination of property is not appealable. So the proactive route to a designation study through a nomination is not appealable. The reactive route, when we're responding to a demolition permit and addressing those quasi-judicial considerations of no reasonable alternatives to demolition, would be appealable.
All right. Seeing nothing further on items 2, 3, 4, and 5, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That those items carry.